Hey, greetings from the calcareous mountainsides of Vermont. Looking out over there, you can see that it's in fact beautiful, beautiful calcareous cliff face. Yesterday we were kind of scrambling up one of those. Today we're going to take a different approach. We're going to come at it from the back, so to speak. Don't get any funny thoughts about that. Probably be on a mixture of the phone and on the camera, because this is an actual mountain trail. Yesterday I was basically just scrambling up the side of a cliff, which, well, very interesting. And I was basically told I missed a bunch of stuff. It was also terrifying. So I got what I was looking for when I was there. But we'll see what we can see today. We started from a pretty decent elevation of already about 24, maybe 23, 2400 feet. So we'll see what there is to see. Right in front of us here, you got a beautiful, yeah, the parking lot's right down below me. I've already made it up pretty high though. This is a steep cliff, steep mountain. Anyway, we're gonna get right in front of me, covered in these nice little bugs and stuff. Going to town on the thing is a real nice mountain ash, a Sorbus americana. Maybe there's another species. You get a European species that's somewhat invasive down south. You wouldn't necessarily see that up here where it's a pretty common species. Rosaceae is the family. Distant relative of prune of the, maybe this is amygdaloides. If not, it's something akin to that. Nice little clusters of rose flowers there, not to be confused with sambucus, something that I was guilty of quite often when I was starting out, because that's also doing the pinnate thing, and the nice little umbel of white flowers, but the flowers don't look anything alike. And that plant, unlike this plant, smells delightful. This one kind of smells, this one's kind of stinky. So nice Sorbus. Seen lots of cool ferns. Unlike yesterday, we're getting some firs. This is this a fir or is this a spruce? No, this is a fir. You gotta always look at, there's no little pins connecting the needles to the branch. It's how you know. Also, it's quite soft and fluffy to the touch. So we get some firs in the mix. We're a little bit higher up than yesterday. Some cool birches still hanging on. Yellow birch, Betula alleganiensis. You get your hobble bush, Viburnum lanthanoides over there. We're gonna have a great day. I'm gonna try and key out some of the ferns when I get to the top of this thing. Lots of interesting ferns. If there's anything of note, I'll key out up top. We can talk about it when we come back down. I'm gonna get off this little rock right now and hop to, because it's going to be another scorcher today, and I'd like to be off this thing sometime before the afternoon. Anyway, without further ado, let's get going. Oh, it's been a minute since we ran into this genus. This is a cool lily. This is growing next to another cool lily. You got Clintonia borealis there on the left. All right, and then I'm out of practice. There's no flowers on this thing. This is one of the Streptopus species, either lanceolatus or amplexifolius. I'm tempted to go with amplexifolius based on these leaves, but the fruits are long gone. I mean, the flowers are long gone. Now it's you got the fruits. That's a true lily. That's in Liliaceae, Streptopus. That's a really cool genus of lily. Look at how the thing freaking grows. That's awesome. So that's either lanceolatus or amplexifolius. I can never get it straight. Oh, geez. I thought that was a frog. It's just a rock. Look at that cool little, not basil leaf. I don't even know what you'd call that. That cauline leaf. And the thing just spreads out like a Medusa's head. Real weird structure to it. It's a great plant. The flowers are honestly not that impressive. It just looks cool. And then, of course, Clintonia, cool genus too. Also, just none of them even have the fruits hanging on. It's been so hot and so unseasonably mild that everything is just, even up north and even at altitude, things are just burning out. I'm pretty sure I saw that plant like in peak bloom at this same elevation, at this same latitude, maybe a couple years ago on Mount Washington. It's getting a little weird, getting a little weird. And nothing too fancy, but always worth stopping to look at the beautiful and underrated, but actually pretty common Oxalis montana. Nice cold, loves like the cold, sleeps the shade. Same genus as shamrock houseplant. Same genus as a lot of common weeds, so the weedy ones usually have the little yellow flowers on them. Oxalidaceae. Would you believe that there's a pitcher plant species in this order? Fascinating order. Oxalidaceae, Oxalidaceae, and Oxalis, the genus. I think we just get this one genus here, though. It's not the biggest family in the world, but there's a lot of species of this particular genus right here. Oxalis montana. And, well, here we are at a nice overlook looking across there. You got Mount Mansfield, tallest peak in Vermont. I think it's somewhere between 4,300, 4,400 feet. So you're not getting up into that super high, you know, subarctic alpine like you get up in the White Mountains, you know, Franconia Notch, Presidential Range, but still you're quite farther inland. So different climatic effects are, you know, making their influences known in this area. Plus, you know, completely different geology. This is a, you know, glacial notch, but unlike, you know, granite half domes, it's looking a little bit different. These cliffs are, you know, composed of a different type of rock. You get this cooked, you know, limestone of marine origin versus, you know, the sheathing granite domes that you get in the White Mountain, igneous province, God. But very interesting. I'm not actually sure what makes up the cap of Mansfield there, because if it's anything like, you know, Pisgah, a little bit northeast of here, it could be both. You could get granite and sedimentary rock kind of commingling, as you do over there, because, you know, did a little video there last year. You start off on, you know, a nice, you know, phyllite and shale deposit, and you work your way up on top of a granite half dome, and the abrupt change, and at least some of the plant community, is pretty apparent. Up here at the summit, you got your somewhat, you know, actually not somewhat, pretty Krumholtz, you know, spruce and fir, your typical thing that you're kind of seeing everywhere. They're not too picky on the substrate, but you know, some nice cones on the fir trees. Always like seeing that, but we're gonna cut it off here. I'm actually technically gonna double back and film some other stuff, but this will be the end of this video. We're gonna go check out another little trail that goes down here, maybe do a short video on that, so take it easy. Hey, give a load of this cute little bastard. This tiny little shit. I shouldn't be mean to him. I like this plant a lot. This is Vaccinium, vitis-idaea. The alpine, I can never remember. Is it alpine bilberry or alpine blueberry? Ericaceae is the family. Well adapted to this full exposure, thin soil. I mean, there's nothing here. Just a little bit of moss. You know, families Ericaceae, so, you know, same genus as blueberries and cranberries. Vaccinium is a great genus. Little leathery leaves, keeping the thing, you know, keeping the thing stable when it's blasting hot open exposure like it is right now. But then also when, you know, this is probably covered by 3 feet of snow for a few months out of the year, you know. Actually, I think we're on the side of a ski slope, or at least it was once one. I passed what looked like some outbuildings. Not that I care. I might go see what's going on over there. But a nice companion, not a companion plant to the pingukula, but a nice alpine plant of the Northeast. I'll put the range map up there. I can't remember if this is one of those cool, you know, circumboreal ones, or you guys get this in Europe. I don't know. The subspecies I know for a fact would be Vaccinium, vitis-idaea, subspecies minus, because I think that there's a slightly bigger version of this that can grow at lower altitudes, but I only ever see this up in, you know, open exposed alpine, subalpine, even actually mostly subalpine. I don't know if it gets all the way up there, but we're only about, you know, 3,700 feet, or right here. That's a cool one. Just, you know, one I wasn't expecting to see today, but one I always appreciate when I do get to see it. How about that? Yeah, you want to talk about plants I never really get sick of. Here's a good example. Here's Cornus canadensis. Talked about it numerous times. We're actually up here pretty close to the summit, I think. And the phenology of all these plants as I've ascended is definitely a bit further back. See, look, there's some Anthum canadensis right there. See, that's still flowering, but in other locations, that's been done for quite a while. Seen a couple other examples. I'll show you on the way back. I stopped for the Cornus canadensis, but there was a nothing special. Oh, now I can't remember. Maybe it just was the Anthemum. I saw something blooming, and I'm just like, oh, I should show that as an example of the elevation's effects on phenology. But then I realized, I kind of just want to get up here and see if I can find one of these pings. So without further ado, let's go do that. I remembered what I was talking about. It was this Lycopodium. Lycopodium borealis is what was still going off. A little loose strife. was talking to some nice lady yesterday at one of the spots I was at. She prefers the old name, Triadennis. I'll put it down below. But I guess it used to have a much... Trianus borealis. I can't remember. It doesn't matter right now. All you need to know is the fact that this is still blooming here is a good sign that if we can find one of these pinguicula, unlike yesterday, it'll be in bloom. Because the ones we saw yesterday, if you haven't watched that, we're all withered and dried up. Check out this crazy ass club moss. Spinulum anotium, I think is what this is. I could be completely mistaken, but the creeping habit, it's a creeper. I've never seen a lycopod do that. You know, lycopods, club moss, common name for lycopods, you know. These things are cool, worth getting into. It's not my, yeah, this thing's big. Not my, you know, cup of tea every day, but I appreciate the very ancient, very ancient lineage of plants here. These were some of the first plants to evolve a vasculature. They predate ferns. Lycopods, they're kind of in between a moss and a fern. It's like a moss with a vascular system. Selaginella is a great one, which, you know, go to a different type of habitat, you see that plenty. There's a whole, you know, Lycopodium behind me. I've talked about Lycopodium plenty, but Spinulum, what a weird lycopod, what a weird habit to take on. Does it not get scorched by the rock? It seems to be doing pretty well here. You can see right there. So ferns have sori. These guys have strobili. So kind of still like a moss, but you know, not quite, you know. So where's some moss strobili? You can see over there. And maybe not, probably not, whatever. Doesn't really matter. I'll show you in 1 second. You know, it still does these strobili structures instead of like packing their spores into sori. What a weird plant, Spinulum anotium. I'll have to follow up and see if that's actually what this is. I've never seen a lycopod do this, or at least I've never paid attention to one. And you can see the moss over here. There's some moss. That's what a moss strobili looks like. Those, however, lack a vascular system. They can't pump water. They can only live as long as they're being inundated. God, what a weird plant. You stop and you think about it, the combination of the age, how long these things have been around for, and then just that growth habit and that habitat. Fascinating stuff. That you can see there's one that died. Leaves a little stem behind. That's crazy. I've never seen a lycopod like that. How fascinating. Well, fuck me sideways. I found it. Not only have I found it, it's all over the place up here. Jesus Christ. It's, that's crazy. Well, this is Pinguicula. It's in bloom. Pinguicula vulgaris. You know, I had to hike up the sketchiest cliff face I ever did to see it yesterday, but it's all over this mountainside. Just growing in the full sun. Growing in these moss beds alongside a nice little Houstonia cerulea, which was also growing out of the cliff faces yesterday, you know. But here, not only is it easy enough that I can give you a stable camera and actually show you the thing, there's much more of them. They're looking much better just because of, you know, they're not, I guess, super stressed out here. But they're still, this is actually, in the grand scheme of things, a pretty barren habitat. You know, this isn't lush up here, but there's just a little bit of water trickling out of the moss here, laden with minerals, presumably, because again, the geology here is mostly sedimentary, very basic. And again, Pinguicula in the family Lentibulariaceae, just like bladderworts, it's using modified leaves to trap and ensnare insects. Bladderwort is an aquatic plant, uses little pods on its leaves to trap like protozoa and stuff. This guy obviously is just basically turned his leaves into flypaper. You can see there's some stuck in there. Beautiful little flower that I can really, you know, actually show you. Does resemble, you know, a butterwort flower, obviously. Oh, geez. These things are in the order Lamiales. So, you know, mint order. you're going to have some resemblance to a mint flower. No conline leaves, and if I'm not mistaken, these do have a nectar spur. Nice little calyx there. Almost kind of reminds you of like a head-cheese-sop flower, gradiola. That's what it reminds me of, which I believe is in the same order. So you get those 5 lobed petals, 3 down, 2 up, nice nectar spur, not a single conline leaf on it. And unlike a lot of carnivorous plants, I'm specifically thinking of Drosera and pitcher plant, Sarracenia, which share no relation to this plant whatsoever. Doesn't seem to be putting that much effort into keeping its flower, hang on, I'll put the tripod back down, into keeping its flower really high above its traps. That's fascinating. I mean, it must work. It's only tiny little flies you really see stuck to this thing. I mean, it's not, by no metric is it a big plant. There's my thumb for a scale. Not the smallest little thing in the world, but still not huge. Just growing up on the edge of these moss beds where it can presumably keep itself, you know, anchored in with some mineral-rich runoff. But then also, again, these just seemingly will not tolerate any shade whatsoever. Obviously, something pollinates it if it's got a, you know, nectar spur sticking its little proboscis down in there. Who knows? That's not. I can't answer that question. So, again, if you are over there in Europe, you're probably thinking, why the heck? Or maybe even certain spots in America, why the heck are you killing yourself to come out here and find this thing? Because it's so darn rare here in New England. I mean, this is kind of the spot that people come to see it. I mean, this general region. This is a different subpopulation than I saw yesterday. It might be the same mountain. I'm not sure, but definitely different subpopulation, much higher up. Hence why it's still blooming, which is why, you know, if you're in an area where you get mountains, you know, what's blooming at 2,000 feet above sea level is not typically going to be the same thing blooming at, you know, 6,000 or even sometimes even, you know, starting at 2, even 4. These weren't blooming yesterday, and I think I was up at 2,500 feet. I'm only 1,000 feet higher than that. I'm at like 3,500 feet, maybe not even right here because I'm off the summit. Yeah, it's worth doing the due diligence to go and check it out. So these are globally not a rare species at all. Pinguicula vulgaris. Its name even means common butterwort. Just the habitat that it needs is so rare here in New England. We've got plenty of, you know, mountains and cliff faces, but what we lack is, you know, limestone, nice sedimentary calcareous rock. Vermont has it. I mean, also plenty of granite and, you know, other metamorphic rock here in Vermont. But it needs this stuff, this really soft. Well, that's a piece of wood actually, but you get the idea. This really soft. You know, well, actually, this has been cooked a little bit. This is like slate at this point, but you get the idea. It's a metamorphosed sedimentary rock, but unlike schist and gneiss, which are, you know, have had a lot of those, I guess, I don't know how, I got to brush up on this stuff a little bit more. Just know that what this does to the soil is it makes it very basic. And in most of New England, what is being done to the soil is making it quite neutral or quite acidic. And in some areas with a lot of granite, very acidic. You know, that's the bog habitat. That's the, you know, it does kind of a functionally similar thing. I talk about orchids goddamn enough. You should get the point by now. When you've got weird soil chemistry, you're going to get weird stuff growing. That is my only premise there. And if you're going to grow someplace where, you know, other plants can't hack it, you got to be able to do something cool. This, you know, the Houstonia there, I mean, that'll just come up in your lawn, but it's growing, you know, right out of the side of a cliff face. He's kind of more of an opportunist, but this Pinguicula, just needs super specific requirements that just aren't typically available for it in New England. I don't know how much farther south you get it in Appalachia. You do actually get this in New Hampshire. There's a couple of outcrops where it's known to grow, but you would need rock climbing gear to access it. And in fact, it's probably quite abundant around this little valley here. But again, you would need rock climbing equipment to access it. You guys get this in the Great Lakes regions. I'm sure you're not impressed, but guess what? You guys are on dolostone and limestone. You guys have a ton of calcareous cliffs out there. That's practically all you have. The acidic and volcanic stuff out west and in the Midwest actually is where your rare stuff grows. Here, that's common. Out there, that's rare. So, yeah, and it's a circumboreal species. It occurs, numerous locations around the world. It's quite common in Europe where, they're mountains because they're at a higher latitude than us. You hit that alpine zone much sooner. Like I think like Ben Nevis, the highest mountain in Scotland, I think this thing is growing all over the place. But that mountain's only about as tall. I think actually Mount Mansfield, which is right across the valley from here, Mount Mansfield might actually be, if not the same height, a little bit shorter. It's around the same height. You get it. It's in the ballpark as Ben Nevis, but only, and you'll see it at the end of the video. I'll show you only the tippy top, 300 feet of that mountain barely make it into the alpine zone. Whereas you could be standing 1,000 feet up in Scotland and there's no vegetation. Even here at 3,500 feet, if I look off to my side there, look over here. There's still forest here. This was cleared probably because this appears to be an old ski slope. I'm not sure, but this clearing has actually created an opportune habitat for Pinguicula. In New England, you have to be 4,000 feet, maybe what is that, 1,300 meters no, that's like 1,000 meters for you guys to even start getting sub-alpine flora, whereas in the UK you're already 55 degrees north. 45 degrees north is damn far north of where we're at. In fact, I think the northern border of Vermont lies on the 45th parallel. New Hampshire and Maine you can get up above there. Maine obviously goes considerably further north, but New York, Vermont, actually, that's basically it. The northern border for a lot of 45 degrees north is very far north for New England. I think London sits at I'm going to embarrass myself or be impressed if I get this right, 53 degrees north? You get the idea. There's a lot more habitat available for it. You get this in the Pacific Northwest too, where again, just the habitat, it's much damper. The habitat's much more conducive to this. This thing will not tolerate drying out. It needs full sun, and it needs, open exposure, which and it needs calcareous rock. And if you think about it, wow, that's three things that are kind of at a premium in a lot of places. So just food for thought. Real interesting plant. At this point, I think I've seen every genera, every genus, whatever, of carnivorous plant in New England. We only get this one. Down south, this is like tropical Pinguicula that they get. But this is pretty much the only area where they're abundant in New England. Pretty much, God, what was I going to say? I trailed off there for a second. Liliaceae, we get plenty of bladderworts. Those aren't rare at all. Purple bladderwort I've seen, the common ones I've seen. Those are really cool, quite species rich too. But if you're not into the carnivorous stuff, I'm into it. But obviously, this is up there with orchids for me. Just how, why is he doing that? He's just doing what no one else will, I guess. What a fascinating plant. And I guess I owe the viewers an apology. I'll shoot a little 2-minute clip to go at the end of the previous video. They'll never know. You'll never know that I found this bounty. I'm going to tease you a little bit. I had to work hard to get to that other spot. Even though it wasn't blooming, there was only a few of them. That is actually a much more natural occurrence of the plant. This is doing so well here because there's been some artificial disturbance. But you know what? That's okay. We'll take it. Anywho, I got a couple more things that you're going to see right after this. I kind of filmed a little bit out of order, and then I'm going to take a walk around this pond here. Get another video in. Let's see what's growing on over there. But anyway, Pinguicula vulgaris, the common bladderwort, which is not at all common in New England or the Northeast. But yeah, what a hell of a plant. That's so cool. He turned himself into flypaper. Oh, would you look at him? Man's lost in the sauce. I'd be in there too, buddy. It's pretty warm out today, huh? A little too warm. Especially for being almost 4,000 feet up. It's hot as balls, man. I'll leave you alone, sir. You have a great day. I mean, I'll be blunt. There's a ton of pictures of these just with the leaves out. And unless they're on a really, really open face, you're probably not going to see them. In fact, I'm surprised these don't die back more because they don't get shaded out by this stuff. Maybe that's just enough. They only hang out on the edge. They only hang out on the edges where it's the right balance of exposure and moisture. It's very critical to understand. That's their gimmick. That's what, you know, see there's a whole bunch of them right there that didn't flower. That's the gimmick. If you want to be small, have a trick to get your nitrogen, and you can tolerate some pretty harsh shit that nothing else really feels like growing in. Look at just all down the side of this trail here. All Pinguicula and Houstonia. Some kind of ranunculus too. This guy. A nice, some kind of buttercup. It's cute. Maybe I can figure that one out. Anyway, we're gonna keep it moving here. We're gonna mosey right along.